Hello dear friends, it's Carly and welcome back to another video. So glad you are here joining me again, or welcome if you are brand new to the channel. Please consider liking and subscribing if you're interested in this kind of content. This is the fourth video in a series of 12 that I am currently doing on my channel to look at each individual North Node placement and compare it to the transit of the North Node happening right now through Taurus. The South Node is going through Scorpio, the North Node is going through Taurus. That's happening in the sky for everyone. I have an entire in-depth analysis on that if you want to check that out. I've also done one commentary where I responded to 10 awesome questions from the comments on that first video. And I'm about to do another one because I have 10 more that I need to respond to. I don't need to, I want to. I love it. I love questions. That's my Gemini Sagittarius, and that is essentially what we're here to talk about. So this video is for anyone who has their Sagittarius North Node or their North Node in their chart falls in their 9th house. So this video could also give you some nuggets of clarity. And then the other thing that I want to say about who is this video for, really, it's kind of on some level, I think, for all of us. Like for me personally, I don't have North Node in Sagittarius or North Node in the 9th house, and I still found this chapter to be extremely helpful because what I do have is Saturn and Uranus in Sagittarius in the 9th house. So in terms of who could use this video, I really think like everybody could probably use like all 12 of them to connect into each of those 12 archetypes inside of yourself, because if I've said it once, I'll say it a million times because it's just worth repeating. We are all 12 of the zodiac energies, and it's like every single one of these videos has been so personally empowering for me. So I just have to say thank you to anybody who is taking the time to watch these. It's just such a win-win, and that's ultimately what I try to put on my channel. When you look at any set of opposites, and if you're interested in what I mean by opposites, check out the second video in this series, which was North Node in Gemini, where it's like the exact opposite. It's literally the exact opposite thing that you should be doing to try to like lean into whatever. So like how maddening it can be to have heavy energy in any set of opposites, any oppositions that you have in your chart, where you have two signs pulling you in completely different directions. I am primarily relying on a book by Jan Spiller called Astrology for the Soul, and I've recommended this a lot on my channel because it's powerful. I think it's like 20 bucks on Audible, and the most abundant $20 I've maybe ever spent. Some person commented on one of the videos and was like, yeah, that was my Bible for like 10 years. Such a powerful book, so powerful. So in it, I listened on Audible, so like she has about 2 hours worth of content per North Node, and especially if your node is in a sign that doesn't match the house that it's in. For example, like if your Sagittarius North Node is not in the 9th house, that means there's another video you should check out. Check out the one for the sign associated with whatever house your North Node falls in. For example, if your North Node is in your 4th house, watch the Cancer video. Hopefully that makes sense. If you need help, comment, let me know. I got you covered. In this video though, we are specifically going to be talking about how she lays out her approach to how does that South Node comfort zone like just pull you back in time and time again. Like where do you trip yourself up? Because that's ultimately what the South Node is. Like she basically says that it's like the most overdeveloped part of ourselves is our South Node. And to this point, we have developed it to the point where it's no longer in balance with the rest of everything else. So that's why in this lifetime, we are working on leaving the South Node behind us, like basically taking with us all the good out of what that way of being gets us. And we're going to get into all of this. But ultimately to like use the North Node as your North Star and follow it, choose to follow it. That's really what the North Node comes down to, is like a conscious choice of like lining up with what feels right to you. And even though the South Node may be more comfortable, it may be easier, it may be like less rocking the boat with other people, it may seem risky to do the North Node behavior. It's like until we fully lean into and embrace our North Node, like success, soulmates, all of it, all of the universal support exists on that North Node path. So maybe that's why I'm like so like moderately obsessed with these nodes, because for me personally, like leaning into it is such a life-changing experience to live like your North Node. Like life is different. Like life as you knew it was, it's just not the same. I don't know how to put it into words. If anybody is watching and knows what I'm talking about and can put it into words in the comments, I would love that. I'm still like learning and building my own knowledge around this, and that's really all we can ever do with astrology. So this video hopefully will give you some insights around like, what does it even mean to have a Sagittarius North Node? Plus, how can we specifically use this Taurus North Node transit to get the most out of this time? Okay, so into the good stuff. So we're going to start with these sections. Attributes to develop. The main thing that I would say, as far as like, I did take in the whole 2-hour chapter about Sagittarius North Node. The main thing that I have to like summarize is faith in yourself. Faith in what goes on inside of you. Period. Like that seems to be the bridge that's being built. We're going to keep going on attributes to develop, and then we're going to get into tendencies to leave behind, and then we'll kind of tie it all together. So basically, when we talk about the faith, it's like reliance on intuition, aka inner knowing of truth. And with that, it's like building up your own integrity. The words that she used that really stuck out to me were having an allegiance to truth. That like at the end of the day, bottom line, no matter what else is going on, like having that allegiance, not just to anybody's truth, to your truth, and like living in alignment with that. Instantaneous knowing of yes, no, right, wrong. Like basically when you hear something, when you take it in, like in an instant, you know what the truth is. You can feel it. And in your more relaxed states, you know this. And there's times when the anxiety gets going and you stop knowing it, but that doesn't mean it stops happening. So that's where I say again, like it's like a faith that it is happening, a faith that you really are feeling universal truth in that moment. She actually calls you unparalleled channels of truth. Because of that Gemini South Node, harnessing the gift of that, Gemini at its highest frequency is open-minded. And like, if you're open-minded, there is nothing off limits in this world. Like literally our mind is our most powerful creation tool that we will ever possess. And you guys have the ability, like the open imagination, to just really go anywhere with it. And so that's the trick of the North Node though, is like letting go of that comfort zone and actively, willfully stepping into the expansion path. And knowing that you're scared of it, knowing that it doesn't really feel right, but the North Node lets us know, like, I know it doesn't feel right, but that's only because I haven't done it. I don't have experience here. So that's really helpful to know that, like, in that moment that you hear something and you feel the truth, don't second guess it. That's in the tendencies to leave behind, is like over guessing and like second guessing and rethinking and rehashing and going back through it with your logic and trying to make everything make sense and add up, and rehashing conversations with other people to try to dig even deeper into what they mean. And I have a couple Sagittarius North Nodes in mind, and I'm laughing because it's like in the moment, and this is again stood out to me as practicing my own Sagittarius energy. It's like in the moment, trust your gut feeling about what is true And if you flag an issue in the moment, then bring it up. But afterwards, like hours later, days later, years later, looking at you guys, like me too, don't go back through it. Like, don't go back. I mean, I do this all the time to be like, did I do that right? Could I have done that better? And I mean, I think I get a lot out of it as far as continuous improvement, and I let it fuel me, but it also can be really maddening to like rehash things. And what they said or what she says in the Sagittarius chapter is like, trust that if there was a problem, you'll feel it in the moment and you'll address it in the moment. And if you didn't feel it in the moment, you didn't flag it then don't try to flag it later. Like, that's like a hard stop with like recognizing you've gone full-blown South Node. You're like going back through it in your mind. And again, I'm trying not to laugh, but like it sounds, I mean, I love you guys. I love you so much because me too. We all do this. We all have all the sides. But yeah, like there can be this basically like trying so hard to know what other people are thinking so that you can say the right thing and they will agree with you and there will be rapport that happens. And basically like it's kind of a, like in Gemini, if you just exclusively look at Gemini, the shadow side of Gemini is that your identity isn't separate from other people's. So if you want to make a change to your identity, you have to get them to change theirs so that then you can mirror it. You can mirror the change that they're showing. But I think the leap again is to have faith in yourself, to like build your own knowing in yourself, to create your own identity, to know your own truth because you can feel it. Like, I think all of you, I'm guessing, are resonating with like, yes, I do have extremely powerful intuition. And yes, most of the time I'm second guessing it. And the trick with this whole Sagittarius thing, one of the main things in terms of attributes to develop is spending time alone. And I know like as far as like the pandemic and we're all sick of being alone, we're like ready to get back out there. But especially with the Gemini South Node, she cautions about over socializing because again, with Gemini energy, the loop that you can get stuck in is just mirroring what other people are doing instead of creating it inside of yourself. Other attributes to develop: direct communication, as in not censoring oneself, meaning like if you're censoring yourself, that's indirect communication. And that's going back to that Gemini way where I'll just get you to be different. I'll subtly agree with you enough to like build this rapport and then like guide us over here. And now you're different and I'm the mirror and bam, I'm different. Look at me go. You know, and this is why having so much Gemini, so much Sagittarius, it can be really hard to figure out like, am I coming or going? Because your skill is being open. And at the same time on the Sagittarius end, you got to close it back down. You have to, one of the attributes to develop is discernment in like these other people's identities and these other people's ideas, in just being so blindly open. It's like, yes, use that openness to navigate and take in anything and everything, but there has to be the Sagittarius part where now you close it back in to, what do I believe? And that is that in the moment resonance with the truth. That's your gut knowing. When you hear somebody spewing some bullshit, you know. Like, so then don't be that. It's really that simple. You know, like, it's like call it out. Say, I mean, she actually encourages self-righteousness, which if you listen to the Gemini chapter, it's like, no, get off your high horse. And you guys are like, get yourself a high horse, get up there and start speaking your truth. do that, please, because we need to hear from you. And I have a little story. I know I didn't put any stories in any of the other chapters, but this just happened this morning, and I was listening to this chapter, and I was playing with this energy. I am developing it inside of myself, so I'm like, let me test this out. Here's a real life situation. Basically, long story short, I was on a board pre-COVID, and it was like a nonprofit organization. COVID came, the organization was already kind of into a decline in terms of participation and activity. And then COVID hit and it just shut it down, but it was more like, let's put it on pause. And now the website renewal is every month. And it's like, last year we agreed, like, keep it going, blah, blah, blah. And now this year comes back around, like, are we gonna pay again to put it on some more? Like, are we hoping that this is coming back together, basically? And I hate conflict. I hate confrontation of all kinds. I don't like it. And so my instant inclination as I read that, like, not only do we need to make this decision, but she sent an email about it like a week ago, and I just was like, nope, not handling that. Nope, we'll let somebody else make the answer. And now it's like, we have a couple days, and do you want to keep this going or not? So now it's also like, you know, time sensitive, and I'm working with this energy of what if you just spoke your real truth? What if you just, like, weren't worried about offending anyone because you know your heart's in the right place? Because ultimately what it is I don't have time for that. I'm not going to be involved. So, like, if you keep it going, somebody else is going to have to put the energy into it to keep it alive, because I have invested my energy elsewhere, mostly here with you all. So that's my truth. And so it was like, oh, well, like, if I just, like, say what's true for me and, like, don't try to phrase it in anybody else's language to, like, soften it so that they don't get mad at me, like, okay, what might that sound like? I don't think I've ever written a text message like that before. Very revealing of myself here. So yeah, I just like wrote a draft of that text message as if I'm just stating what's true. And I did, and I went back through it and I was like, holy moly, like, this is great. Send. And within minutes, somebody else replied and said, I'm of a similar mindset. There you go. Like, that's what's going to happen, I think, a lot of times when you guys, like, get all self-righteous and speak your truth and all of that is like, I mean, she says you guys are unparalleled channels of truth. And I think when you start speaking what is resonating inside of you, other people are going to go, wow, that is exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly where I've been resonating. That's like, when you speak, you are representing something much larger than your own personal truth, and having the confidence to say it and to not second guess, like, the way you're phrasing it, to let it flow as authentically as you possibly can. And the more you do that, like, when you're walking that North Node path, the universe is under your feet. The universe is all around you. She also says that you guys are surrounded by guides. And the guides, like angels, ancestors, spirit guides, soul councils, however you want to put it. She also said that these are some of the most talented tarot readers, because the imagery on the cards, like, communicates so strongly with you, and you just feel this truth and it just bubbles up out of you, and, like, holy crap, go with that, you know, like, trust that ability. A few other attributes to develop. She says defining your position internally long before sharing it with anybody else, practicing independent decision making, becoming an example of your own truth, and then also adventure, like physical adventure, physical pilgrimage, practicing spontaneity, international travel, cross-cultural experiences, and communicating energetically, like feeling that like going deeper than feeling the connection with that truth that's flowing through you, in terms of like getting really excited about what that truth really is. Like, this is all my own understanding, and there's way too many sources to try to tell how many pieces I've put together to try to like understand how Gemini energy works. But essentially how I think about it is like, they've shown where our bodies are emitting energy. Like, that's what our aura is. They can see this on like scientific scans and whatnot. And Pam Gregory, I was watching one of her videos here recently, and I don't remember which one it was, but she said like they studied meditators like before they're meditating and then during, and the like trying to measure the amount of energy, photons, I think she said, I don't know, the amount of energy coming out of that heart center, and it just like skyrocketed as they were meditating. So like, I mean, that's the kind of thing that like sounds true, you know? I don't know. I don't know if there's science behind it, but it resonates with me because I do feel the energy field that not only is mine, but I can feel my energy field interacting with other people's energy fields that I come into contact with. And I can feel how my intuition can sometimes respond to them without them ever saying anything to me. And sometimes my intuition is talking to me about what's going on in the collective, because I think on some level, there really is no space between any of us. That energy that's being emitted, you know, it's easy to think about your aura is like a couple arm lengths around you and then it stops. I personally don't believe that. I believe that our aura exists inside of something that is filling up all of the space, like non-physical energy. That's a term that I get from Abraham Hicks. I know that much. And so like non-physical energy is all around us. And so we are constantly interacting with non-physical energy, even when we're in a room all by ourselves. So through that non-physical energy, each and every person is interacting with non-physical energy all the time. And non-physical energy is complete. Like it is not intermittent. It's just all consuming in this physical time and space. Again, I'm probably going to put something on the screen that's like, this is Carly's opinion, like take it or leave it. But here's where Gemini comes in, because in Gemini, the highest frequency is that you open your mind, meaning you take your ideas and judgments and notions about life and the way the world works, and you take it off and you put it over here. And you listen, you be open to whatever is currently in front of you. And this is the thing that you guys are brilliant at doing this. Like, you will just always be really exceptional listeners and really open-minded to lots of different walks of life and so many different kinds of people. And you enjoy the stimulation of diversity, basically. You're very open to that. And that's never going to change. You have an appetite for like wanting that change and wanting to break free and like do lots of different things. And like, that's never going to change. It's just a matter of like upping your game a little bit as far as being really rock solid, grounded inside your Sagittarius process, where you figure out what's true for you and then you say it out loud. Activating your voice seems to be part of the process here, where like on Gemini North Node chapter, it was like activating your ear holes was kind of like what they're working on. You guys, your ear holes, they're rock solid. It's the throat. It's the willingness to say it out loud, that it's what you're working on. That's the leap of faith. That's the path that's going to feel uncomfortable. My God, I don't want to. And then you just say what's true. You let your heart be in the right place and you say what's true. And then watch people be like, oh, thank you so much for putting words to that. That's exactly how I was feeling too. I didn't want to offend anybody. And you're like, I totally get it. I totally get it. It was a total leap of faith for me. Thank you so much. You're making me feel so much better. Or you can just think all that, like it can just happen in your mind. That's usually how I roll. So let's see what else we got in here. I know this one's long, but you guys, like, I love Gemini and Sagittarius. I have a soft spot a mile wide for these guys. Let's take a look at the tendencies to leave behind and just kind of go through these real quick, because I think I've hit on a lot of them already. Invalidating your intuitive knowing with either your own logic or trying to insert what other people think into the equation, whether, and this is a trap to watch out for, whether it's what they told you they think or it's what you think they think. Because that's kind of a pitfall here with this Gemini South Node, is like it is just a constant figuring out what everybody else thinks. And that can be a coping mechanism. It's a, like, kind of, this is coming from the Capricorn North Node chapter, but it's a coping mechanism to avoid having to speak your own truth. You're trying to figure out what the right answer is. And if I can just like figure out what this other person is thinking, then I can say the right thing. It's a preoccupation with the right thing instead of what's right is what's true for you, going back to that allegiance to truth that we're all trying to pledge on some level. Other tendencies to leave behind: overly focused on what others are thinking, which is basically under that is a fear of judgment from others. This saying what others want to hear, which basically can even amount to white lies on occasion, where it's easier to just keep the peace and kind of pick your battles and avoid the confrontation and just go with the flow. Like, yeah, and that is okay. And that level of openness and mutability and willingness to forgive and let it go, like, yeah, that's really nice. Like, honestly, in a relationship especially, like, you need a good healthy dose of that. Hanging on to the past is not the answer either. But again, building up the Sagittarius end of also being really strong in our truth and speaking our truth and only what's true. The reason it's like really worth spending some time like digging into why white lies come out of our mouth in the first place. Like, no judgment. It's like really worth spending some time on it, because why did you feel like your truth wasn't good enough? That's a little bit like sad, you know? And again, I'm very much looking in a mirror at myself, because I'm right there with you. Like, white lies, exaggerations, like not necessarily like falsehoods, but like, was it really 37 or was it 12? You know, like, it's like little things like that, that like, it's so interesting how, especially in the flow of it, exaggeration can happen just because you want to make a certain point. Right? And so it's like getting really sensitive to that and really being mindful about the true truth. Not like, how can I make this point to somebody else? Because when we exaggerate, we're trying to make the point to somebody else. So true truth. I pledge allegiance to the true truth of the united pieces of Carly. Do it with me now. No, I don't know. I don't know what I do. I'm in a box. That's something I see them do. I'm like, I'm in a box on the internet. You resonate or don't, and do what you're gonna do there. Other tendencies to leave behind: indecisiveness, perpetually seeking more information, feeling like you attract the wrong people to you. And this is something I would love to hear if you think it resonates. But as she's telling it, it's like there can be this tendency to get into these situations where people don't treat you nicely, or you feel like you just attract people that just aren't good and healthy for you. And her answer to that is that basically, like, Gemini in its shadow also, because it's only a mirror of somebody else's identity at the end of the day, it's completely open, it's a blank slate, it doesn't know who it is, so it has a compulsion to be around other people, because then you at least have the reflection of their identity. So, what am I talking about here? So when you're not fully grounded inside yourself, there can be this tendency to want to be around people no matter what the cost. And so this can make you be agreeable with people who are farther and farther away from your own truth, just so that you're not alone. And basically, when you compromise your truth, when you start agreeing with people who are over here doing things that you don't agree with, but you don't want to leave them because you don't want to be alone. And I mean, who can't resonate with that? I don't know. I certainly can. Basically, you put yourself in these shitty situations where, yeah, they're not good for you. They're not healthy choices, but you don't want to be alone. And so getting strong in your truth is a whole process, and not to be taken lightly. Like I've said in every single one of these videos, like our North Node is meant to take our whole entire life for us to get good at it. And it's a perpetual process of waking up inside of our South Node tendencies and remembering that we want to point ourselves towards our North Node tendencies. We want to gently and lovingly nudge ourselves outside our own comfort zone. You know, like it's not about, oh shit, now here's one more thing that I gotta do. Like it's really not. It's like up here on your North Node path is where the life you want is, kind of thing. And so like you just have to get outside your comfort zone to get there. And then that whole process of getting outside your comfort zone, like what does that even mean? Well, it's this. It's boldly making a stand, speaking it as it is, telling your truth, even when you think maybe someone will get mad about this. Like getting on your soapbox. Like there are a lot of you who I like have personal experience with, who the way that you look at the world is truly beautiful. You crack me up so many times. Like you come out of nowhere with some of the funniest goddamnedest stuff to say. And most of the time, I would bet you most of the time, you guys are letting like 98% of that, 99% of that just sit on the bench, not putting it in the game. And I'm like, put it in the game. Come on, please, please. You know, like I'm asking nicely here. Achilles heel / trap to avoid. Mental insecurity, meaning like that trap where if I can just figure out how this other person is thinking, then I'll know what they want to hear. I'll know what their truth is. I'll know how to fit into that. And then I can say the right stuff so that they know that I fit into that. And it's, yeah. Basically, it's like you just can never you can never read somebody's mind well enough to do that. And if anything, in this life, because Gemini is your South Node, that means that when you're operating like that, the world has to push back against you. So when you are speaking to someone after you've done the whole thing where you're like analyzing, like, what do I need to say so that they like still favor me? When you say that, they have to disagree. They have to get annoyed with you. They have to break up with you. They have to leave you. They have to push back because you're not honoring your truth. You're not pledging allegiance to your own truth. And life has to not work for you on the South Node path. That's that path. That's the South Node version where you're operating on old programming, and everywhere you are, it's glitching. And they're no longer, like your social, your guides, your spiritual support is no longer supporting that path. They're not there. They are trying to guide you up to your North Node path. And that's what she's like, you know, basically like your guides are feeding you full of this truth. Like you have universal truth flowing through you all the time. And you're always, like, not always, but like a lot of times, like there's this impulse to like add the logic and second guess and wonder, well, but like, what does that mean about this person? What is, like, instead of just like flowing in the truth that you can feel is true. So that is just, oh, it feels so good to like have this understanding of like, there are literally times where the best possible thing you can do is just to speak your truth. And at the same time, like I gotta say, that's like one of the scariest things I've ever come into contact with, is saying my truth out loud in certain situations where I feel like it'll be upsetting to other people. And then saying it out loud, I'm like just sick with anxiety about how somebody else is gonna take this. And this process of resonating with this chapter and like making this video has been so personally soothing and therapeutic to me. And that's just a tiny side note on why the order of these chapters is what it is. I know I'm going like all over the place. I just am doing what I feel like doing. And I felt like doing the Sagittarius one. And now I know why, because it lined up so beautifully with me having to respond to this, you know, work type situation. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. When we line up with our North Node path, it's like there really isn't even our work and our relationships and our life and our free time. Like, it's just all woven together, and it's beautiful. And the way it comes together when you're just following your intuition, like, it's so easy. And when we operate in the South Node, we just make it so much harder for ourselves than we need to. And I mean, there's a reason that I've been working with this book for so long, and I probably will continue to work with it, I gotta think, for a long time, because it is so many layers of how to put all these different pieces together and resonate with it inside of ourselves. So how can developing the Taurus skill set and purging Scorpio, how can that help you better walk on this Sagittarius path? I have a few ideas, and I would love to hear how you guys respond in the comments. The first one is purging Scorpio, I believe, will help release the need for others' validation and approval. So when we let go of Scorpio, when we're letting go of those low Scorpio vibes, there's like an emotional attachment to other people that is being cleansed. And in doing that, I think it just like opens up some space that now, what are you going to fill it with? I would put your truth in there. I would like keep your own relationship with the truth. I would fill up every single bit of open space with your relationship with your own personal truth and building your confidence internally with yourself. And knowing for certain that your heart is in the right place. Knowing for certain that you are a good soul, and anything that comes out of your mouth is divinely intended and none of it is ever wrong. That's a big leap. The one Sagittarius North Node that I'm thinking of is so tight-lipped about their version of the truth. And I'm like, give it to me. I don't know, you guys, like, yeah, it's find your soapbox, get your high horse, like whatever helps you to feel strong enough. And that's again where Taurus, I think, Taurus is essentially our security in the physical realm. And so when we are building our own inner foundation of true security, which if you watch that North Node through Taurus video, you know I don't define as any kind of material abundance of any kind. It's a feeling inside of ourselves. It's a self-trust. It's a knowing of our own self-worth. It's an appreciation and an acceptance in our own divinity, like our willingness and ability to grant ourselves inner peace and relaxation. That's abundance. So as we practice that, it's like our dependence on pleasing other people goes down. Our ability to be bold in our truth goes up. Also, as we practice Taurus, our value system lives there. So in Taurus, basically we get really simple. Like Taurus is a being energy. So as we simplify down into this very simple being, I'm just a creature in a body. So like, what are my physical needs? How do I cultivate physical security in my life? And also, what luxuries can I afford to myself, as far as like, yeah, let me really enjoy this physical experience. So that's Taurus as well. So as we clarify the values, the physical security that allows us to feel like stable beings in the world, we realize that that is indeed something that's coming from inside of us. It's coming from something that we're doing and cultivating in our life, like a yoga practice or a journaling practice, or we find a therapist, or like we find a way to ground into our physical world. And when we do that, it takes the focus off of like, what is my identity, which can be like the whole Gemini, like doesn't have an identity. Gemini is like an open blank slate. And so there can be a lot of anxiety in that. And so as we ground into Taurus, it matters less that you're an open blank slate, and you become okay with, I am what I am. And what I am is okay, because I can feel my own connection to my own well-being on the inside of me, and I trust that. So that is ultimately like great for every single sign like we're seeing, but here especially, that stable footing lets you be a little bit more bold, more and more and more with the way you put your truth out there, with the way you speak it. Because again, I'm thinking of this particular Sagittarius North Node, and they're in a work situation right now, and they have such a good idea. They have the problem. They sat with it long enough to like receive the solution. It's a really good solution, and like really understanding of the problem, and like hasn't told anybody, hasn't like done anything with that because it's, you know, just doesn't want to. Like, and so that's a perfect example of, yeah, like say it out loud, because your ability to come up with the truth and to be able to see things clearly and to know what resonates, which is to say that like you can feel universal truth inside of you. And so again, going back to like how Gemini energy works, as we're all interconnected through this non-physical energy, and you open up, you receive like basically the thought patterns and the thought blocks of mass consciousness itself, which is to say an amalgamation of like all energy, like all of us beings that have been, are, will be, we're all interconnected through this non-physical energy that is all around all of us all the time. So that Gemini South Node is like completely open and receptive to, like, it's not even your truth. It is truly universal truth. I feel like I'm putting a lot of energy into this one, and like we're spending some time in this elongated discussion because literally like you guys are unparalleled channels of truth. Like really, I would just like write that down if I were you. I am an unparalleled channel of truth. Try it on for a second, like in an I am type statement. Like, can you say it out loud? Like, I am an unparalleled channel of universal truth. Does it fit? Do you believe it? Does it bring anything to the surface that now you may want to sit with that? Maybe that's some of the healing that your South Node is asking for. Like basically, why can't you speak your truth? That's the healing that the South Node is asking for. Anything that comes to mind when I say, why can't you speak your truth? All the reasons that you list, that's the healing that your South Node is asking for. So let's see, what else did I have on the Taurus list? Last but not least, speaking your truth requires you to be solid in your values and knowing what you truly need. Plus, like as you slow down and relax, again, the effects of that Gemini nervous energy, anxiety/worry over what other people are thinking, as you relax into your Taurus beingness, again, you are very much soothing and calming that South Node end. And when you do that, when you calm the vibe of it, when you like put it back into a place where it's loved, like I'm so glad that I'm open like this. I'm so glad that I have a concern for like how other people feel and who they are and where they're going in their life, where they've been in their life. Like I love that side of me. I love where it takes me and my curiosity where it takes me. And I love myself enough to pledge allegiance to my own personal truth and know that my entire spiritual support system exists in a place where I am willing to actively speak my truth on a daily basis. Like last year, 2021, for me personally, my mantra was the year of speaking truth. At some point, if that ever feels right to you, I highly encourage that as like, you know, I have a video, I'll link it down below so that you can check that out if you want to hear me talking about my year of speaking truth. It was incredibly powerful as far as like building up my willingness to say my truth out loud. And it is incredible how when you are willing to say your truth out loud, people who resonate with your truth they drop out of the sky to just come and offer support and encouragement and resonance. And it is so delicious to get over that hump of being too afraid to put your truth out there and then have it out there and then have a nice response. Like, oh my gosh, there's like literally nothing better. And especially when you have like, you are working on developing Sagittarius energy during this lifetime, there are such huge, huge beyond huge rewards waiting when you open your throat and you allow your truth to come out and be heard by other people. It's the path with the Sagittarius North Node. That brings us to the end of another one of these chapters. I thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave them down below. I will be moving on in Jan Spiller's book, Astrology for the Soul, to the next chapter. I believe I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it just in case I change my mind. You know, gotta be flexible. You Gemini South Nodes, you definitely know what I mean by that. Astrology joke. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. And until next time, you take such good care of yourselves. Spend some extra good solitude time, getting clear in your Sagittarius truth. And so will I.